What's up, SOBs? It's me, Jared Logan from the Stream of Blood with another GM Toolbox. This is the series where we take rules from one tabletop role-playing game and graft them onto another tabletop role-playing game to make that game better. Kind of like when you graft a cyber buzzsaw onto the arm of a street samurai so he can assassinate corporate goons. I've kind of always wanted to get a grappling hook arm so I could exit situations, easily. Like, hey, Jared, would you like to go and pick apples in an apple orchard with us? Hey, I gotta go. Today, we're going to talk about success and failure in tabletop role-playing games. Every tabletop role-playing game, at least 99.9% of tabletop role-playing games have a success or failure mechanic. The player rolls the dice, and depending on the dice result, they have succeeded at the task they were attempting, or they have failed at it. Now, there are a lot of great rules and great advice in a lot of games about how to handle these rolls, which are really at the core of any game. There's advice like making sure that when the players roll the dice, it's really a risk that matters that they're engaging in. It isn't something inconsequential. And then there are also rules about succeeding with consequences. Sometimes when the players roll and they fail, they should still succeed, but something should go wrong or something should complicate the situation. These are great rules. But today I want to talk about a Powered by the Apocalypse special, something that is in all of the Powered by the Apocalypse games, including Apocalypse World and Blades in the Dark. And some of them it's sort of implied, it's never stated explicitly. And that is, when the player succeeds, they narrate what happens. When the player fails, the game master narrates what happens. So when the player rolls the dice and their task was a success, whether it means researching something or firing a gun at an enemy or jumping from one building to another, you tell the player, okay, what happened? How did you do that? What did it look like? They will surprise you. When the player rolls the dice and they fail, that's when you, the GM, come in and you go, okay, here's what happens. And you tell them the horrible fate that befalls their character. Why is this a good idea? It empowers the player. By empowering the player, I mean that they finally get to do all the cool shit that they wrote down on their character sheet. The character sheet is sacrosanct, and this player has done all of this work to get it ready for you. And they thought of all the cool things they wanted their character to be able to do. But then in a lot of games, the GM just keeps narrating all the action, and the player never quite gets to get in there and say the cool things that their character does. They're going to give you all the juicy, spicy ingredients that they've put into their character. It also surprises the game master. You, the game master, are playing too. You deserve to be surprised. Being surprised is a good thing. You don't want to plot out every single moment, every bit of minutia in your game. You want to constantly be receiving new information, surprises that are exciting and fun for you. And when the character narrates how they've succeeded, often they are going to surprise you. They're going to throw in a new element of their character that you didn't know that they wanted to stress in the game. They're going to throw in new environmental elements that you didn't even know were there. They're going to say well, I grab a heavy paperweight off of a bookshelf and I bash the guy's head with it. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that there was a paperweight on that bookshelf. Maybe that's important. Maybe that's something I can use. They're helping you create the environment together, and that's good for you. It lets the GM talk less. Running a tabletop role-playing game is already really hard, and then you sometimes feel like you are an auctioneer, a sportscaster. You're just talking the entire time you're running it. And the thing is, when you're talking, the players aren't getting to contribute. Players having fun is usually directly proportionate to how much they get to contribute. So it's a good idea in general, if you can, for the GM to talk less. I know we are brilliant geniuses and everybody should be thankful, grateful to hear our little tidbits of wisdom, but letting the player narrate their own successes lets you shut up, and I promise you, you will really enjoy that little rest in the middle of the game. Finally, it gets the player talking more, and this is extremely important. As we've gone over in like the character creation video, getting people sold on playing these games in the first place can be tricky. Even if they're a hardcore Dungeons and Dragons player, it might be hard to sell them on playing Blades in the Dark or Vampire or whatever game you want to present for them. Getting the player talking, getting them contributing to the game world gets them excited. If players are talking, you are running a good game. You can relax. If your players are talking about the game, like talking about the fiction, talking about the situation, the game is going well. It's when the players kind of sit there and stare at you and are waiting, and they're looking at their phone, and they're kind of like, we can't do that. Well, then I don't know. It's when that's happening that the game isn't going well. So you want to get the players talking as much as you can. Now, some GMs might come to me and they might go, Jared, this rule is crazy. If I let my player narrate what happens when he succeeds, he's going to say all of a sudden that he's able to pull a rocket launcher out of a hidden door that was in the side of the enemy base.
I've never seen those before in my life.
Bazooka?
I have a permit for that.
Or he's suddenly going to decide that his character knows how to do full capoeira, like in the movie Only the Strong. Or he's suddenly going to say that he is a close personal friend of the Baroness, and that he can actually get everybody into the ball as honored guests and recipients of the special Really Important People in the Kingdom Award. Yeah, you should let your player do that. You should let your player narrate incredible, exaggerated awesomeness for their character. You should. I think you'll find that players actually, for the most part, don't take advantage of being able to narrate their successes. But if they ever seem like they are, you can always fall back on one important idea. Players control their character, not the game world. So if you need to, if you don't like the change that they have contributed to the game world, if it breaks your story or it seems like it's way out of the mood or tone, these things are important in a game. You might just say to them, well, that's cool. I like that idea. But keep in mind, you don't really control the Baroness. You just control your character. So what's something your character did that was awesome when he succeeded at that manipulation role? When the players fail, it's the GM's turn to control the game for a minute. And that is a really fun time for you because that's when you get to be nasty to them. I don't just mean a complication. I mean, I think that you should really hurt them in some way. Emotionally, mentally, physically. I mean their characters, of course, not the people you're playing with. Because if you're going to let them narrate how amazing they are and the times when they succeed, you have to balance that out by narrating how truly dire and awful things are when they fail. This is going to make a normal game where you narrate everything, where sort of the dramatic arc is kind of like, like this. It's going to make it like this. And that's good. Because you know what that is? That's a fucking roller coaster. Just remember when you're doing this that how nasty you are to the players when they fail is going to affect how they play. So if a failed roll often means that someone dies, you'll find the players suddenly, less willing to roll the dice as much. They're going to do more planning. They're going to do more calculating. They're going to try to get as many advantages built up as they can before they finally commit to a dice roll. On the other hand, if when they fail, you're not very mean to them, well, they're going to assume that they're superheroes and they're going to stop strategizing altogether, kick in doors, and start kicking ass everywhere they go. Oh, why should I have to negotiate or use diplomacy with these NPCs when I can just intimidate them and tell them what to do?
Watch this. Intimidation!
And that's not good either. That's why you have to be nasty when they fail, but not so nasty that they're afraid to try things. And that's a balance I can't really teach you. That's individual to your game and your players. I think you're really going to enjoy letting them narrate when they succeed and having you narrate when they fail. I think the best thing about it is that as the game master, you get a little rest. You get to lay back, listen to the players talk, maybe have a nice cocktail, something fruity. You get to go on a little vacation in the middle of the game. And the whole time they're talking, explaining to you the incredible swordsmanship of their character, or how they've actually got secret agents inside the Dockworkers Union, your wheels can be spinning and you can be figuring out the next move your bad guys are going to make, the next awful consequence you're going to levy against them when the dice don't go their way. This is GM Toolbox. If you like what you saw here, please subscribe here on YouTube. We play 3 or 4 games a week on the stream of Blood, so be sure to check us out on Twitch. And if you have used any of these techniques yourself or have your own take on success and failure in RPGs, please sound off in the comments below. Until next time, happy gaming, you son of a bitch.